Hello, 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 hello. Hi. Hello, I am live. I am live. I am live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Streams of Collective Consciousness. I'm Ellie, and today is Tuesday, March 24th, and I am super excited to get in a whole bunch of fashion news. Most of it is sustainable fashion news, and I also talk about bits of environmentalism that's happening in the world, and then also social justice issues, but mostly it's sustainable fashion. And yeah, I mostly work out of this Canva deck to keep my live stream super organized and super just on top of it. I am very concise with what I do. If you ever want to look at this Canva deck, it's in my description, so you don't have to stay the full hour or full 2.5 hours, which is usually how long I'm live on. And yeah, it's a very structured thing. I stream every Tuesday and Friday from 4 to 6:30 Central Time. So if you ever want to watch these live, that's when I'm live. But if you're watching live right now, thank you so much. It is a day. It is a day. But yeah, I usually start exactly at 4. And then I always just focus on sustainable fashion first. And then I later go on to more like community submissions, more like videos, stuff like that, like recent fashion shows, you can say. And then later on throughout the stream, I talk about more like environmentalism issues and like social justice issues. So that is something I talk about later. And then I also am striving and wanting to play fashion games. So once I have a PC system, I will do that. But I don't have a PC system. I'm actually just working out of a laptop connected to a monitor, slowly killing my laptop, but we're not going to talk about it. But if you ever want to submit anything to me, I do take a bit of time to vet everything. But if you ever want me to talk about something, feel free. There's always a lot going on, and I can only look at YouTube so much. So yeah, if you see anything news-wise, YouTube videos, tweets, anything interesting, feel free to submit it in the submission form, and I will look at it and maybe I will feature it on the live stream. That would help me so much. And yeah, if you want to know a bit more about me, I'm Ellie, like I said in the beginning. Here's a bit of facts of me. Feel free to read this or skip forward or just kind of like ignore this, but I'm gonna see if the audio is working because I always have audio issues. Okay, so the audio seems to be working fine. I may end up wanting to, maybe I should just raise it a bit, raise it just a bit. The mic is a bit low. I don't have the traditional mic systems. No, I'm just gonna leave it where it was. I don't like how it looks. I don't have like the traditional mic system, so I just kind of like keep this little small mic on my chest over here. Kind of looks a bit weird, just like fluff there, but we're just gonna keep that there. Perfect. I just ended up in the same place I was, but let's test that out. Okay, so the mic is fixed. Sorry for the muffled effects when I was fixing it. But yeah, if you ever want to stay connected with this community, I do have a Slack. And if you ever want to have like more on-hand experience with like sustainable fashion, I do have a blog. It's called Sustainable Mode. If you ever want to be like a writer, let me know. It's a super flexible commitment. All the things that you need to know is there. So in terms of like volunteer basis, like you only need to write like once a month and you get to be published on an established platform. And then I am coming out with a Substack newsletter. It's going to come out in April, so you can be more informed about all things sustainable fashion via your email, so you don't have to worry about just like watching this live stream all the time. And I do have an eBay and Depop if you want to support me, and yeah, have a Patreon as well. So I always like to have like a personal update section, just so that it doesn't become so intellectual and just like unbiased. I am a very biased person. I think it's good for everyone to know like where I'm coming from. But yeah, basically I'm like Ellie. I'm based in Chicago. I'm 28 years old and I do this for free. Like the only times I'm getting really supported through this is when someone buys like an item from Depop or eBay, but no one else is funding this. Like, I don't come from Nepo babies, or I'm not a Nepo baby. I'm based in a frontline community that like is really struggling right now, especially with like so much exploitation, racism, and all those things. But I'm super happy to like continue advocating for the things that matter. I'm Mexican American. I love axolotls, and yeah, I've always loved conservation and environmentalism. And also, just an interesting fact, I applied to the Garment Worker Center, which is this place in LA, and they keep rejecting me. I've applied for literally the last 5 years, and I've applied like twice a year, and they keep rejecting me for some reason. And you would think I would be able to get the job because it's like about garment workers and sustainable fashion, and that's been my background basically. I've been an activist and a union organizer, but they keep rejecting me. So maybe my dreams in LA have to finally be put to rest. But I still want to visit. I've never been to LA, and I've never really met in real life garment worker. So I think that's one of my goals for like this year, to like actually go to LA, actually meet a garment worker, like actually like see what they go through, because that's kind of like one of the reasons why I wanted to work at this place for garment worker rights. I wanted to see the garment workers in person. I wanted to help their struggle. I wanted to move beyond intellectual things in my head. Like, it's one thing to know a topic, and then it's another thing to like be actually invested and on the ground and helping garment workers. So I still want to do that in some way, but after being rejected for 5 years at the same place, I'm just kind of like, is there any hope for me in this world and this sphere of activism and community? I don't know. I don't know, but I don't want to say I've completely given up. But I think in the long run, maybe they did me a favor, because I've never been to LA. I don't know the city. I don't know what I'm really talking about because I've never experienced it. Hence, that was the point of me going and having this job. But I guess if you don't really know what you're entering, it may just be like a false decision that you're doing preemptively. But I'm excited to like visit just as a casual like tourist and just kind of like get the vibes, visit their garment district, maybe set up some interviews informally. I know some people that know garment workers, and I'm sure a million people that would be willing to talk about their story and trade for like some sort of compensation for their time, I'm assuming. It's just like a matter of finding them and like also ensuring their privacy, because I feel like garment workers may be hesitant to talk about their struggles because they don't want to lose their jobs. And that's what happens a lot within the city that I'm in. There's a local organization that fights for worker rights, but most of the workers that they try to organize are subcontracted, and it's just a liability on their end to be like talking about all the social injustices that they experience, because they don't want to lose their job and they don't want to be like deported or anything. So I totally get that fear. But yeah, I want to make it a goal to move, or not move, but visit LA and see, you know, what they're going through on a first-hand basis, and just enjoy the city before I start applying to other things or to just get so mad that they keep rejecting me. But yeah, that's just something that's been happening to me for the last couple of years. So okay, so yeah, that's basically it. I don't really have much else to talk about for personal updates, but I do want to get into the sustainable fashion news that I've been seeing recently. So one of the huge things that I've noticed is that Donatella is basically leaving Versace. And this article by One Greenery sums it up quite well, because Milan fashion has a bit of contentious history, and this article basically talks about it. So its article says Milan's fashion matriarchy is dying a slow death. At least we have Donatella. At least we had Donatella. So I love this graphic. But basically the article explains that for the past few months, it has felt like we've only had Prada, Louis, Trotter, and Donatella Versace to hold up the female form of Milan Fashion Week. But now we have lost Donatella too. Gosh, it's getting awkward to say and so boringly repetitive. A white guy. I mean, the article just touches on the fact that the fashion industry is overconsumed or overfilled with white people, especially white men. I mean, race is not inherently bad. It's just they dominate a lot of fields and hold a lot of power and a lot of privilege. And yeah, it's interesting for sure, especially when the article touches on how it's curious about the actual gender divide in fashion. And we decided to analyze Milan Fashion Week. And then, yeah, they were like referring to like the current male-female binary. This current blue highlighter thing is kind of like messing with me. I can't tell like what I read and what I didn't read. I don't like it. If I lose track in the article, it's because of them. So basically this article is reflecting on the way fashion leadership is structured today and not a reinforcement of exclusionary views. So they had basically 52 brands on schedule in the Milan Fashion Week. There was 23 legacy brands, and there was 29 founder-led brands, and there was 15 male-founded brands and 14 female-founded brands. That's an interesting breakdown. And there was only 3 female creative directors within this scheme. And that's only about 13%. In total, there was only 17 female designers present at the Autumn-Winter 2025 shows, most of them whom had eponymous, I don't know what that word is, eponymous, I don't know, making that 33% of total designers who showed. Yeah, the article just shows obvious, like, a lot of fashion designers are not female, and they're really struggling to come up and break that glass ceiling, obviously. And then the article further explains that when women start their own businesses, it's fairly equal statistically. Looking at MFW, MFW is Milan Fashion Week, right? Yeah. So Milan Fashion Week, independent brands show that the female to male ratio cut down the middle. It's not just the case when they're hired by big brands. So it's still the same no matter where you go, what you see, or how you break it down. Females are likely to be less likely employed, most likely to be less likely employed. Oh my god, what am I saying? They're less likely to be employed in a fashion brand. And they further broke it down here in Paris as well. And the statistics just basically explain that there is more favor of employing women in Paris, and demonstrates that if women want to be creative directors, the more likely way to succeed is by starting their own brands, because the system of who gets appointed as creative directors is screwed against them. The women are simply not given the same opportunities as men are, even if they have the same successful output and identical CVs at senior level, which is sad. Not only is this true in the fashion industry I've seen, but like in many different industries and fields. As actually really quite unfair, and I don't agree, but I don't really see why there's that bias to hire the white man versus the woman, no matter what race she is. And there's this interesting quote by one of the editors of this magazine called Aya, who said in 2023 that the story is always the same. Their experiences and skills meet the demands of the house, and their portfolio receives a positive response, but then they're rejected based on final interview without any feedback. And then when we talk about successful female creative directors, often names of independent brands come to mind. Conversely, when we think of men, the ones that we think of have mostly been appointed creative directors for legacy fashion houses by CEOs, achieving that success without having to start their own companies. And then this just kind of reflects that there's a phenomenal woman who started their own brand, who has, essential creatives and has interesting designers working for them, but yet it's hard to be employed in legacy brands or to have an opportunity in fashion weeks which is, again, for me personally, that's really sad to see. I feel like women are always struggling to have a place no matter what. It's just sad. It's just really sad to say and to see. But the article then explains that for all these women, success was never handed to them the way it had been to their counterpart. If we had only seen 3 women appointed to the top of 20 houses in the past year, leadership really has to take a long, hard look at itself. The talent is there. There is no shortage. Remember the stat. Women make up 74% of fashion courses, but only 12% become fashion directors. Yeah, most of the people that I actually see in fashion design classes and fashion merch classes are female. Women love fashion. I truly love seeing that, and I met so many great people through my fashion merchandising bachelor degree program and journey. But that's so interesting that only mostly men become the creative directors that basically dictate the inspiration, the direction that fashion takes every season. I mean, that's not right. That's not right. And then Anya, another person, says, I think gender disparity exists in fashion because it persists everywhere else. Fashion sells products still mainly marketed at women, but the hierarchy within the industry reflects the status quo in our society overall. It's hard to imagine a less patriarchal power dynamic in fashion when the rest of our society and culture has not changed more. I mean, I think Anya is a bit of a pessimistic thinker. I feel like, yes, fashion does reflect our current society and our current, I guess, hierarchy, but that doesn't mean we can't change things. I think we need to push the needle a bit more, but that requires systemic change. And I feel like if you're within the system, it's kind of hard to think about systemic change because you don't know where to push or how to like navigate yourself more inward to a top leadership position without dismantling everything that you understand or know. That's why I sometimes think being an outsider makes it a little bit easier for you to like change things or envision something different versus like being entrenched in chaos and within this bubble and like then feeling like nothing is possible to change it. But I do think society can change. I do think power can change. I do think culture can change to some extent. It's just it's a collective effort. It's a collective people power movement, and it doesn't really come often internally with those that are leaders, because I feel like leaders are often the ones that are hoarding the power, hoarding the creative direction, quite literally if they're creative directors. So it's such a shame, but I really do think there can be positive outcomes when we come together and like try to change things and appoint different people than otherwise would have been appointed, basically. Let me change the camera a bit down. The light on top is a bit harsh. That made it slightly better. And then the article explains that it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the reality of inequality. The answer, instead of gender bias, is simple. Hire women for these roles. It can be that straightforward. When we lose certain people within the next few years, someone else will need to be appointed. And it's basically what they say, a musical chair's hype. But we still have lost a great person. And what will be the female representation in the Italian fashion industry when she says bye? So, I mean, it's sad in a way that a strong woman is leaving, but I think we need more strong women coming in to replace her. And like, I think everyone needs a time and a turn to lead, and I know there's going to be so many more talented designers striving to get to where she got in the fashion industry. So I'm kind of excited about that, and I do think we should hire more women to be creative directors and leaders within the fashion industry, especially when fashion is so targeted to women. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to see like who is next to be our fashion leader and inspiration. But to her, hopefully she gets some rest. She's been at it for a while. Okay, so Donatella, thank you for your service. But we're gonna move on to another aspect of the news, which is this. So I actually saw how Louis Vuitton suffered a robbery basically. So one of their stores got raided, and it's so interesting how this happened, but it was in Melbourne, and let's definitely take a look at this. So this was by Retail Boss.
Brazen daylight robbery with its luxurious Louis Vuitton store ram-raided.
Thieves snatched designer goods just days after a similar smash and grab at another high-end city retailer.
Smash and grab. Smash and grab.
A royal mess at Crown Melbourne. Louis Vuitton ram-raided in broad daylight. 2 huge display windows smashed and cleared out.
A variety of all the top-line bags, wallets, purses, all gone.
Wow, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands. I think one bag can be 10,000, can't it? Crazy.
It happened at 7:40 this morning at what should have been one of the most secure locations in the city. Security guards and cameras failing to deter the criminals.
Very surprised that in a place with such security like this, something like this can happen. I've never seen nothing like it.
The cheapest item sold at Louis Vuitton is around $500. They range up to tens of thousands. While police won't say exactly what was stolen, they have confirmed they were high-end items.
The white Nissan Navara left a trail of glass as it sped away. A similar thing happened there in 2020. Crown has since...
I like how they could confirm that at least high-end items were robbed. Wow. That's a good guess with Louis Vuitton.
lined the walkway with huge planters, but the gap's just wide enough for a car to squeeze through. Dior's been targeted recently too. The Collins Street store ram-raided twice this month.
Somebody's running around with a lot of good bags.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Someone's running around with really good bags. Oh my god. I like how they interviewed the most unserious person for this. They must have just like pulled him aside and asked him what his opinion was with no context of like what the brand is or like what it really sells. But I do wonder why there's so many robberies within this area, Melbourne. And then they also had raided Dior. And they reported saying that they stole more than 7 figures worth of both brands altogether. So, I mean, I don't personally feel bad for the brand. Yeah, I don't say that this is a good thing to do. I don't justify anyone's logic to rob anyone or anything, no matter if it's a luxury brand. But I do always wonder what the circumstances are for the robbers. Like, are they in a lot of economic pressure to make money? Can they not find a job? Like, why are they doing this? What benefits them in robbing all these high-end bags and items? Because luxury fashion is all about authentication, like having it be a real thing. So I just always wonder in the black market or on the streets, how easy or hard is it to resell these items, especially because they're real bags that are worth tens of thousands of dollars. So maybe the robbers are very, very strategic in how to sell them or where to resell them. So there's just a lot of questions of who's behind it and why they're doing this and the motive. But I mean, I know that Louis Vuitton makes more than enough. So I don't really think this is going to affect them in the long run. It's just, I also think about the retail workers within these stores. Like, do they hold any weight for what happened? I'm surely not, but the comments here says that the stores have enhanced their security guards and surveillance. So, I mean, at least it's making more jobs for the local economy, right? They're hiring more surveillance and stuff. But I just kind of like always think about the retail workers and the people behind the actions. Like, are they safe? Are they being blamed? What's the motives here? So yeah, it's very unfortunate, but I don't really think it's gonna hurt the brand in the long run. But very interesting for sure to look at. And then another piece that I have been seeing now that we're talking about money is Temu has actually been losing money because there has been a lot of competition with China. So this article actually talks about it. again, I do not feel bad for Temu. I do not think that they need to be making more money. I think it's a good thing that they're struggling with Chinese competition because it reduces their power and their hold on American consumers. And hopefully that leads to less overconsumption. But basically it explains that this e-commerce is basically missing the market estimates for quarterly revenue, and their demand has remained weakened, especially in China, because of China, despite deep discounts and government stimuli to boost spending. So that's very interesting to see. And then the article further explains that government stimuli. I'm gonna call it stimuli. I don't like the word stimulus. Government stimuli and deep price cuts from retailers have drawn some shoppers, but there just has been a persistent weakness in the Chinese economy, and it's still forcing consumers to keep a tight lid on their There's a persistent weakness in the Chinese economy is still forcing consumers to keep a tight lid on their spending. I don't know what that means. They did not write that with AI. I do not know what that means. I don't know if they're talking about Chinese consumers or American consumers, or what consumers in general are not spending, but I think just overall, like, most consumers have less spending money because we're now in a recession. And Temu is just not meeting their quotas anymore, which is good. I like this for Temu to be struggling. Let's see what else. I hate when an article just talks in big words. Like, tell me what you mean. What does PPDD mean? Like, what is this? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they're just not making enough money that they thought they were going to make, basically. Unfortunate, I guess, for them, but good news for us, for the sisty baddies. It's just a bunch of jargon in this article, to be honest. They do talk about, like, the recent tariffs and effects that's had with custom inspectors, the postal and delivery services, and like online retailers and stuff. So there's been a lot of competition and chaos overall. But yes, I think we need Temu gone. We need Temu to leave. We need them to go. That's all I gotta say. I'm not gonna spend more time on them. But yeah, that was just good to know, good to see. And then another interesting article that I saw was how there has been a widely used sustainable cotton scheme that is failing to tackle deforestation. So the Business of Fashion released this article. These topics are very like intellectual and jargony and like boring to read. So if I skip over some of the article, it's not that I'm trying to omit information, it's just really boring. So I'm trying to get to the main point as quickly as I can and can get to it. But basically there's an investigation that was published last year that's linked to better cotton farms in Brazil that basically addresses environmental and human rights abuses. So there's been efforts to address these issues according to an NGO behind the report. So basically there has been a widely used sustainable cotton scheme, but it's now under fire because there's allegations that the farms covered by these standards are actually contributing to serious environmental and human rights abuses in Brazil, which is kind of serious if you kind of think about it. And so the issues were first raised last year when environmental NGO EarthSite published an investigation that alleged Better Cotton certified farms were linked to large-scale deforestation, land grabbing, and violent harassment of local communities in Brazil's sensitive Cerrado ecoregion. Sound serious? Sound serious? Sound serious. Better Cotton. I've never heard of it. But then Better Cotton said that they had their own investigations conducted by an independent third party, and they found no evidence that its standards have been breached or that the farms identified were directly linked to the reported issues, but neither less committed to address risks revealed by Earthsight's report. I mean, of course, they're going to be like, yeah, there's no problem here. Guys, there is no problems here. Imagine if you get caught doing something and you're like, I will contract my own independent third-party investigator to figure out if I actually did something. And then I get to say, no, guys, we didn't actually do anything based on this investigation that I fully controlled. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, Better Cotton. Makes a lot of sense for you. But I am curious what the Earthsight report actually revealed. But yeah, I mean, the article then explains that there's supposedly next steps, which includes improving engagement and dispute resolution mechanisms for local communities, initiating steps to strengthen due diligence frameworks, and working with Brazil's Cotton Growing Association, which manages the better cotton process in the country, to enhance standards. So from this, it just kind of sounds like the supposed sustainable fashion framework and platform is basically not addressing issues on a local level. They're not practicing due diligence, and there's no frameworks for it. And then there's just like no good like infrastructure to work with associations. So that's a shame. That's a shame. But yeah, there's supposedly some like unsustainable and illegal practices in Brazil's cotton sector. And then Earthsight, oh, here's a drama. Earthsight claims that Better Cotton continues to ignore the core issue of widespread land grabbing and the profound impacts this has on traditional communities and the environment. It's also clear Better Cotton remains unconcerned about the shocking conflicts of interest that plague its certification program in Brazil, which it runs in partnership with cotton lobbyists. Ooh, drama. Cotton lobbyists. They're water hungry. I've heard that cotton takes a lot of water. So it must be affecting like local ecosystems if they're like cutting down trees to like grow cotton and to like have all this water come into certain areas. Yeah, so that's unfortunate to hear. But supposedly Better Cotton said it's welcome to identify ways to improve. So that's a good thing. They say we're committed to continuing this important work through regular assessments and further adjustments. I'm not familiar with Better Cotton. I wonder if there's like any promotional things on them on YouTube. I've not heard of them in the sustainable fashion space. But I'm sure that they hold a lot of power and money to say and do whatever they want. So it's good that there's other NGOs investigating this organization and just making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I'm not familiar with them whatsoever. Maybe this one's a good one. It's from a different place though. They don't have a YouTube. Let's see this one. Not a commercial, not a commercial. Yes,
the Better Cotton Initiative makes global cotton production better. Better for producers, better for the environment.
Wait, is it the Better Cotton Initiative or just Better Cotton? What is this group called? Better Cotton.
Better for the cotton sector's future. The journey of cotton from field to store is complex, so we have created an easy way to track the volume of better cotton sourced in the supply chain. This is how it works. When better cotton is harvested and moved from the farm to the gin, it is physically segregated from conventional cotton and pressed into bales. These 100% better cotton bales are then bought by traders and spinners. From this point,
are we feeding into propaganda right now? Take all of this as like alleged information. I have no idea if they're actually doing this, given that they're not doing things right.
Better cotton can be mixed with or replaced by conventional cotton. Traders can only mix or replace better cotton with conventional cotton from the same country. Spinners can blend and replace better cotton with conventional cotton from any country as long as it is processed at a site that belongs to the same spinning mill. Cotton Claim Unit, or BCCU. As cotton moves along the supply chain and is converted into different products, these BCCUs are also passed along the chain to represent the volume of better cotton sourced. This whole process is tracked through an online system called the Better Cotton Tracer. What's important is that the masses of reported better cotton changing hands at each stage are always equal, or in balance. This chain of custody is called mass balance. This means that the volume of BCCUs.
I feel like I'm in a kindergarten class on how cotton supply chains work. I don't even know what they're telling me. I'm just like, yes, pretty colors.
BCCUs moving along the chain is never more than the volume that was initially procured by spinning mills. As more better cotton is grown and procured, more BCCUs will be available for suppliers and manufacturers, and eventually be claimed by retailers. This system of credits and mass balance means that the use of better cotton does not disrupt established business practices. You can buy cotton at the time you need it.
Okay. I got the point. I got it. We got it. Yes. Well, there's an interesting commentary here of how the better cotton is fundamentally flawed. This was from 3 years ago, so we can take a look at this to see what they're up to from a different perspective.
Exactly. I'm just as confused as that cotton farmer in Xinjiang. He's just among the millions of Xinjiang people who create a better life for their families by working diligently and happily. How come they have suddenly been portrayed as victims in an evil forced labor chain as the Better Cotton Initiative slapped that label on Xinjiang last October based on mere hearsay? Even BCI's own staff openly rebuked that false claim recently.
同时呢，我们还跟这个国际的非政府组织和其他相关利益方呢一再重申，在中国地区我们没有发现过任何一例有关强迫劳动的案例。
BCI Shanghai's made that announcement based on several field reviews. They submitted self-assessments, reviews from partners, and reviews from the BCI and third parties, all pointing to no forced labor. Still, the BCI headquarters overruled those reports. Why was the BCI's judgment so fundamentally flawed and biased when it comes to China? First of all, it's not that professional as it claims to be at all. Right now, the cotton planting standards in Xinjiang are basically higher than the BCI's. Second, it's self-contradictory. It had been certifying cotton production in Xinjiang for the past 8 years. During that time, it found not a single case of forced labor. On top of that, the BCI is not an independent group. According to its website, the United States Agency for International Development is one of its key sponsors. I'll leave it to you to Google up how USAID has been accused of meddling in the internal affairs of its beneficiaries. And guess who is sitting on its board? Mark Lukowitz. This guy is also president and...
Mark, what are you doing? Not only are you messing with Brazil, you've messed with China. Why would you do this?
CEO of Supima, a direct competitor to Xinjiang Cotton. A shout out to conflict of interest. Lastly, the BCI says it's non-profit, but retailer brands have to pay an annual fee ranging from 6,000 to 45,000 euros to get to the club. And by the way, the BCI says it's born out of a WWF initiative, but the WWF confirmed to our reporters it's not associated with the BCI anymore since 2009. More than half of the farmers in Xinjiang are engaged in cotton production. That's 7 million people. Cotton makes up 60% of the cash income for those farmers every year. The BCI's irresponsible action only hurts the very people it claims to protect and slaps its own face. And that wraps up this edition of Xinhua Commentary.
Mic drop. There you go, Wing. I think there's a lot of conflict of interest if like top leaders are entrenched in other things that are not as ethical. So better cotton, do better. Not surprised whatsoever, but interested in knowing like what comes out of these reports against better cotton for Brazil. So we'll keep seeing. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I always wonder what they're actually up to. But another interesting thing that I saw is just a lot of archival fashion is coming into the world of the fashion industry. So Indulge is a magazine that kind of talks about it. But basically they know that there's just been celebrities like Bella Hadid who have been wearing like the same low-rise jeans. And then there's just like a lot of people wearing archive fashion, which is like vintage fashion basically, that have been basically reconceptualized and like rediscovered. And yeah, it seems like vintage fashion is not like the trend right now. It's more so like the word archival fashion for some reason. And it's, I guess, not just a trend. It's more an aesthetic, a vibe, of a lifestyle, a cultural movement, basically. And archival fashion can be things like thrifting, raiding your mom's closet, splurging on a vintage, luxury bag or whatever. But right now it seems to be the new trend. So this is something that was noted, how these were pieces on a celebrity. Let's see. So all of this is archival fashion from past shows. So it's really interesting that they're like open to use like vintage fashion, but can this really be like quote unquote vintage or archival fashion if it's just a couple years old? I don't know, because like how do you define vintage fashion? Do you have to wait if it's like 5 years old for it to be vintage fashion? Because in my eyes I'm like, oh, the 90s is vintage fashion. The 90s it's like archival fashion, But she's been wearing a lot of things, like a Vivienne Westwood crochet and knit corset, and then a vintage Roberto Cavalli dress, the Mugler top, and then this denim dress. I actually really like this dress. And then also was wearing Vivienne Westwood from 1992 at a birthday party. I actually really think that archival fashion is this, like the 90s fashion, no matter if it's designer or not. I love this piece, very cool. I don't think the textures match that much, but very nice, very nice. It almost seemed like she was doing a fashion show outside of the birthday party. Like she was posing. It's a full-on fashion show out here. Go queen, go. And then also when she was in the red carpet moments, she was wearing Burberry at Met Gala. It didn't specify what year it's from, but supposedly that's archival fashion. This is a vintage Dior dress designed by Yves Saint Laurent, 1959. Okay, that's archival, that's vintage. I get that one. She even looks like old Hollywood glamour, and that's been like a trend right now with celebrities and red carpets, like Hollywood glamour. So I'm not surprised that she went this way. Maybe it was more so the designers and the stylists pushing for the Hollywood glamour, and the celebrities follow suit. But the celebrities do encompass a lot of creative direction from their team. So yeah, I'm not surprised she looks like this, was dressed like this. And this is a 1986 Alaya dress. Nice. Nice, nice. And then this is a vintage Chanel at Cane's. And there's still more pieces where she wore vintage. I think her stylist is the one behind a lot of this archival items. Maybe she is interested. Maybe Bella is interested in sustainable fashion and vintage fashion. But most of the times it's like the stylist vision. But maybe she's part of that process. Who knows? I wouldn't know. But yeah, this is archival Versace. I don't even know. And I'm a fashion student, or was a fashion student. And then this is a Gucci 1996 by Tom Ford at Cane's. All styled by La Roche. I wonder if there's any videos on La Roche and their like styling ethos, because I think that would illuminate a lot of what we're seeing with archival fashion and Bella Hadid. So let's see. Let's see. Oh, they also style Zendaya. That's right. That's right. Sustainable style. Let's see what comes up. Da, 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 da. I'm not saying anything about them explicitly talking about sustainable fashion, but he's been in the fashion industry for a long time. Oh, that's me. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about that. Maybe they're just doing it because I have access to archival fashion, and that's just like what's in the moment, not necessarily something they inherently value. There's something here called sustainable, but that's not a video on them. Yeah, there's no like explicit videos of him talking about sustainable fashion. It's just like styling celebrities with archival pieces. But yeah, this is another red carpet by Archive Fashion. So that's interesting. Bella Hadid looks beautiful, by the way. That's just great to see. Let's see what else there is. But yeah, the article basically showcases how she's like a vintage slash archival queen. And even notes that vintage may be like the new luxury. So not long ago, they explained that wearing secondhand clothes meant digging through your grandma's attic. Now it's a status symbol. Celebrities are leading the charge. Zendaya in a vintage smuggler corset, Kim Kardashian in Marilyn Monroe's dress, and Deepika's Budokan, I don't know how to say her name, rocking archival Sabyashi, I don't know. But the message is one of this, that owning a piece of fashion history is cooler than buying the latest drop. In a way, I agree, but I think the only people that can actually really buy like luxury archival items are like celebrities, but I feel like most of them are just borrowing the items, because I recently saw a video of Prada where they were showcasing their archival items in a Instagram post. Let me pull it up. I think it's down over here somewhere. Yeah. So Prada showcases their archive collections in their recent like social media post. Outlander magazine made analysis of it basically, but this is what they show. Isn't that crazy? That's all their archival heels. That's their archival building. Look at all those shoes. That's like a girl's dream. This building is worth millions and millions and millions in the things that they're storing. Look at all those units. It goes up to the wall. Isn't that crazy? I used to think that luxury brands like sold their items, but no, they keep them. They keep them in these buildings. It's almost like buying a Barbie and not taking it out of the plastic case because you just want to keep it the same way for years and years and years. But isn't like heels and dresses meant to be used? So I just feel like it's a contradiction to make so much stuff, but keep it in the cases, basically. It just feels wrong. This feels wrong to me. Like, fashion is so practical in its use, but like it's inspirational in some sense. And these shoes basically did dictate the season of its time, but it just feels wrong to see this in there. Look at all these cases. They're like vaults of empty dreams and uses. But yeah, archival fashion is locked away. And if you do have access to it, it's like a status symbol, basically. It's like the ultimate fashion status symbol. But it's not accessible to most. It's barely accessible to celebrities. And it's because they have access to stylists that are basically the leaders within the industry. And they know people who know people who know people who know people. But for the average person, like, luxury fashion archival items are like a lost gem. They're really not going to be able to afford it, even if they find it. But I think archival fashion can be like thrifted items, even if it is fast fashion. I'm hopeful that more people want to support like thrifted items. There's been an obvious resurgence in like Y2K that the article talks about. And yeah, I'm just kind of hopeful, especially when there's like Depop and eBay and all these other sites and places that are selling vintage. So that's a path forward, vintage thrifted items. But to move forward, I actually did want to, there's a lot of news today, but I did want to move forward to this interesting article talking now a bit more politically about fashion. But there has been a focus now on Reebok in the face of the occupation and ethnic cleansing in Palestine. This post is by the Anti-Sweatshop Against Apartheid, and basically the post explains that Reebok is cashing in on the apartheid, and Reebok basically is now the new sponsor of the Israel Football Association, the IFA. And this includes teams in Israel's illegal settlement of occupied land and is now a target for the BDS movement. And basically the sponsorship means that it legitimizes the ongoing ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from their land in Israel's apartheid regime. However, Anti-Sweatshops Against Apartheid says that we've now uncovered a multitude of other ways that the brand is complicit in supporting Israel. And they get into that by saying that since 2022, Reebok has been owned by Authentic Brands, which from 2019 included BlackRock as one of its biggest shareholders. BlackRock, if you don't know, is one of the top 3 shareholders in Lockheed Martin, one of the world's largest arms companies, and a major supplier of military technology to Israel. As of July 2024, 77.9% of its shares were in Lockheed Martin, equating over $18 million. And then 2, there's a long-standing partnership and support from Authentic Brands to Israel. So Authentic Brands expressed its support for Israel in an Instagram post and announced that it launched a 1-for-1 matching donation program to support organizations in Israel, some linked to the IDF. And yeah, that's just Reebok is part of that process, that organization. And then again, Authentic Brand stands with Israel, so they've expressed their support on social media very explicitly. And then in 2016, Reebok planned to auction a special edition Israel 68 trainer on Israel's Independence Day. The company later retracted the product following backlash from Palestinian advocacy groups and the BDS movement. These are the Sud sneakers. And then they do profit from retail sales in Israel. They sell their products online via One Project, which is an Israeli multi-brand e-commerce platform that distributes Reebok apparel and footwear online. And so basically the anti-sweatshops against apartheid says that we call on Reebok to end its relationship with the IFA, cease ITS support, foreign operations in Israel, and stop profiting from settler colonialism, the occupation, and the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. So if you want to boycott a brand, Reebok is definitely one that you can participate in. So if you want to use hashtag boycott Reebok, you can do that to stand with Palestine and not support a brand explicitly connected and benefiting from Israel and just the genocide and ethnic cleansing of another country. So if you're not familiar with the anti-sweatshop against apartheid, they're a very bold organization and platform, and they basically talk about all the brands connected to the violence and injustice that Israel is putting upon Palestine. So definitely support them and give them a follow. But yeah, it's very unfortunate what's happening, and I feel for Israel. I mean, I feel for Palestine, not for Israel. But there's a lot of innocent people on both sides. It's just what's happening is saddening and disheartening to see it. I wish there could be a ceasefire and that it continues to calm down. Like, there is no need to be dropping bombs and so much violence everywhere. But to move on from that serious topic, I do want to talk about Nike. Nike has been part of a lot of like ethical and sustainable debates, basically, you can say, because they just refuse to pay their garment workers. It's actually kind of annoying that Nike has repeatedly just not cared about their garment workers. But basically, Sourcing Journal released an article saying Nike supply chain workers continue to fight the heist. So I think we can read this with the robot voice and then learn a bit more that way. So let's look at that through the robot voice.
More than 2 years after a group of 25 garment sector unions representing workers in Nike's supply chains in South and Southeast Asia filed an international labor complaint accusing the sportswear juggernaut of running afoul of guidelines for responsible conduct by multinational businesses. The hundreds of thousands of mostly women who lost wages during the COVID-19 pandemic are still fighting the heist, as the Asia Floor Wage Alliance and Global Labor Justice have put it. And despite what appears like complete disinterest from Nike in engaging with the issue, the Just Do It firm has yet to respond to multiple requests for comment from this publication. The labor rights nonprofits, better known by their acronyms AFWA and GLJ, say they're not giving up. Their campaign, in fact, will only escalate. That includes taking the fight to Nike's hometown of Oregon.
I didn't know Nike had a hometown in Oregon. That's very interesting to know. Interesting. Ohio.
I really think that this campaign has a chance to be transformative and to change the calculus for Nike about how it will need to treat its workers to continue to have the reputation that it wants, which is to be a champion of equality. Noah Bernstein, GLJ's lead campaign organizer for the Americas, said in a virtual press conference kicking off an online day of action on Friday. To be sure, there seems to be a disconnect between Nike's championship of women's sports and what Bernstein described as its history of, unfortunately, ignoring the workers in its supply chain and the unions that rep.
I definitely do have to check out this press conference. It seems like they're doing a lot of great work. I'm not super familiar with the organization, obviously, but I wonder if it's public for the peoples to see, or if they kept it a bit more private. But the GLJ is the Global Labor Justice Organization. I wonder if they have This is him that led the campaign call. Doesn't seem like they have much of a social media presence, to be honest, but trying to look for their campaigns here. Nike I don't see, but they do have stuff against Gap, H&M. They do have a policy hub, publications, nothing popping up. Maybe it's in press releases. No, they just have something on FIFA. Okay, so let's go back here. I wonder if there's anything. It's called Fighting the Heist against Nike. Oh no. Fighting the Heist. I seriously think that more organizations need to make YouTube videos about what they're up to, because I would love to support them. It's just I don't really know what they're saying or doing unless I talk to them directly or I see something online. Global, what is it? Global labor justice. Call to action. Yeah, so I'm trying to see like what they're doing to help the garment workers who have been affected by Nike's negligence, but I'm not seeing anything. This is their channel. Here's something recent they've done for Nike.
Saya bekerja di pabrik untuk membuat sepatu Nike. Saya membuat sepatu lari Nike. நான் 2 வருடங்களாக Nike ஆடை உற்பத்தியில் வேலை புரிந்து வருகிறேன். Kami melihat Nike suka memakai perempuan kuat itu untuk iklan-iklan mereka. Pandu வீரர்கள், pemain tenis, seorang pelari. எங்களுடைய நிலைமை என்ன? Kami juga perempuan kuat. நாங்கள் கடினமாக உழைக்கின்றோம். Sangat keras. Saya bekerja 6 hari dalam 1 minggu. எப்பொழுதும் கூடுதல் நேரமாக. Ketika Covid, mereka memotong upah saya harus makan 1 kali sehari. Bahkan keluarga harus berhutang kemana-mana. ஒரு நேர உணவு கூட இல்லாமல் நான் பெரிதளவில் பாதிக்கப்பட்டேன். Tapi Nike, kamu tetap dapat keuntungan. Kamu tetap menghabiskan jutaan dolar untuk iklan. Ketika kami tidak mendapatkan upah, kami tetap bekerja agar bisa memberikan uang kepada keluarga. இவ்வளவு நடந்தாலும் நாங்கள் கைவிடவில்லை. Sama seperti perempuan-perempuan kuat yang ada di iklan-iklanmu. எங்களுடைய நிலைமை என்ன? Ayolah Nike, pakai aku di iklanmu. Tampilkan kami di iklanmu. எங்களை சஞ்சிகைகளில் போடுங்கள். Karena kami perempuan kuat dan kami pejuang. Kami menantangmu Nike. Nike, நாங்க உங்களோட சண்டை பிடிக்கிறோம். Untuk upah yang layak, சமத்துவத்திற்காக, untuk upah hidup. Jadi, tampilkan kami di iklanmu. நாங்கள் கேமராவிற்கு தயார். Interesting. I mean, it's totally justified for the garment workers to ask for a place, basically, in the work that Nike is doing. I would love to see the garment workers be put on commercials and like their magazines and stuff. Does Nike have a magazine? Or do they mean like their publications in general? But yeah, it seems like there's just more energy to call attention to the issues that Nike has perpetuated in the garment supply chain. I think they're maybe just being exploited, and there's like lost wages that they still haven't paid from COVID. Like a lot of fast fashion brands just did not pay their workers for the work that they did during COVID just because they didn't want to, which is totally unethical, and basically trap their garment workers in poverty, because if they're not making any money from their labor, then they're just not able to live and not able to save their money, and just complicates everything for those already stuck in cycles of poverty. So I also didn't know that Nike had their hometown in Oregon, so that's very interesting. If they have like just corporate offices there, or if they have their associates there. Like I wonder what makes Nike's hometown Oregon. So maybe we should look that up, if we can like track down where they're based and send them some hate mail. I'm kidding. But I didn't know that. Oregon and Nike? What? Nike Oregon?
To be free and flexible and creative was really...
Why Oregon? What's in Oregon? This commercial... Wait, where's my browser? There you go.
Western Oregon is
Western
home to the track
Oregon
that helped make a sportswear giant, Nike.
Nike.
This is Hayward Field, or Tracktown, USA, at
Tracktown.
the University of Oregon in Eugene.
Speed it up. Stop with the propaganda.
In 1949, a man named Bill Bowerman became the track and field coach here. Known for his attention to detail, Bowerman even cobbled shoes for his runners. Then, in 1964, Bowerman went into the shoe business with former U of O runner Bill Knight. They started out selling sneakers from Japan, but in 1971, launched their own company, Nike, named after the Greek goddess of victory. At the company's Beaverton headquarters, Nike is still looking for ways to give runners an edge, inviting top athletes to train here.
That's corporate America right there.
The campus's buildings bear the names of sports legends that have been sponsored by Nike, including Michael Jordan, Mia Hamm, and John McEnroe, all of whom were also made in the USA.
USA! Not the Smithsonian. They've been bought out. Okay, that was not that exciting to learn about, but Nike, do better. If you believe in America, you should actually like have American values. Oh, they don't really care. They just want their money. Okay, well, they should probably pay their garment workers and feature them in magazines and features. But that's unfortunate. But I do think that this has been getting more attention as of late. It's good that the garment workers are standing up and like fighting for what they deserve and not staying quiet, because it is really easy to stay in fear and to like not talk about the realities and truths and stuff like that. But another thing that I saw that is crazy is that a mom found her child's coat almost 8 years later, 250 miles away. On BBC, they feature this. So it basically explains that she donated her kid's coats, understandably, after it wasn't needed. But after 8 years, it came back to her 250 miles away from her town. So the mom is Anna, and she was very confused when a woman from a nearby town contacted her to say that she had found an age 11 to 12 coat with the name and phone number of her now 20-year-old son. The man is 20 years old. Oh my gosh. So the article continues to say the following: robot take over.
The online influencer, who is one of 15 siblings, said she always had hand-me-downs and is passionate about sustainable fashion, regularly donating her children's clothes. She said the experience really sang to my heart and shows if we care for our clothes, they can have long lives and many stories with different children.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Wait, let's have the robot voice read it.
Ms. Kilpatrick said her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. It turned out to be a lovely woman from Booth Wells, who had found a lost green coat with the name Isaac and a phone number on the label, and was trying to return it. In a matter of seconds I had to kind of work it all out, she said. Ms. Kilpatrick realized the H&M coat she had donated 8 years ago to a friend had somehow made its way from East Sussex right over to Mid-Wales. After retracing its journey, she figured out that the woman she had given it to had a Welsh connection, which had brought the coat across the border. When she was sent a photo of the coat, she was surprised to see it still looking great and said it shows that with proper care, even affordable items can last and have multiple lives. We are all such a brilliant part of the sustainability network without even realizing, she said. It was just such a lovely kind of connection story of how one mom of a 10-year-old or 11-year-old in Wales can be linked with a much older mom of a now grown-up, 6 feet, 3 inches, bearded builder in East Sussex. And how that coat that once wrapped up my little boy on the sidelines is doing the same for this little kitten in Wales. It was just so lovely.
20 years old and he's 6'3"? That's crazy. Dang. Oh my god, the mom must have been so confused. Look at her face. She's like 8 years later and the coat is still fine and okay. Oh wow. I do wonder sometimes where our clothes end up and what their journey is and how many of them have ended up in the landfill after I've donated them to the thrift store. Like there's no real way of like tracking them unless you put like a tracker of some sort, or there's an app or a QR code, something. But this is crazy. It's a funny story because 8 years later, her kid is like 6'3" and 20 years old, and then she's getting his coat when he was like 12. Wow, that's amazing. Whoa. But yeah, there's always exciting things and interesting things happening in sustainable fashion. I actually saw an article from kcra, who has featured a popular vintage fashion hub in Sacramento that has emerged.
Bringing local vendors together to sell clothing, shoes, and more has really exploded in the capital city.
Once COVID hit, it really just took off and we had a line all the way around the block, which is like unlike anything we ever saw before.
This weekend, the world's worst Expo took over the convention center for some vintage shopping. It's giving business owners a chance to meet with customers face to face.
A lot of these businesses, you know, they just have online outlets and they don't really get too many opportunities to connect with customers in person. So it's really cool to be able to host an event where it's strictly small businesses getting that one day out of the month where they get to interact with all their customers and, you know, see everyone face to face.
Vintage clothing vendor Madison Swanson came from Stockton. Her degree isn't fashion, but she says she's now making a living doing something she loves.
Honestly, there's a lot going on right now, and it feels good to try and make small strides to shopping more sustainably. And I feel like it's a lot easier for other people to be inclined to shop sustainably too, because it's so popular and because everybody else is doing it. And they feel like it's a lot easier to like find this type of stuff now.
While the price point attracts a lot of customers, like this $10 sign here, many people say they shop vintage because it saves the planet. Lydia Williams came from Lake Tahoe to look for unique clothing items. For the last 6 months, she has made it her personal mission to not purchase anything new.
I think it's like a statistic that you use something 12 times when you buy it new and then you throw it away essentially. And even clothes in thrift stores, when you donate them, they really just kind of pile up.
She's walking away with a new to her wardrobe and encouraging other youth to join the secondhand clothing movement.
I think it's amazing, but it should be a goal of people to use what we already have. And there's so many clothes here. Oh my God, I've never seen so many clothes. So it's like, why not pick from things that are already there?
In Sacramento, Leticia Ordaz, KCRA 3 News.
The Expo wraps up in just a bit at 6 p.m., but if you missed it, organizers tell us they plan to hold another event in Roseville on April 6th.
That's a Trump scare. God damn, what is that? No. That's super cool. I feel like a lot of people are finding a market and a job in sustainable fashion through selling vintage things, whether online or in person. I definitely have seen that in Chicago, and I actually work in a vintage shop, and the co-founders are benefiting from the Y2K trend, from people wanting those unique like vintage pieces. And it's just great that we're basically understanding more of the fashion issues and wanting to be part of the solution. So I'm excited to see more vintage fashion markets across the nation. Sacramento, such a great example, and it's like the first one ever, and it seems so hype and so filled with people. And yeah, like the prices too, $10 to $20 for vintage items is so affordable. So that's really nice to see. I feel like too, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, we only wear this very little, like a couple times, and then we throw it away. So hopefully the things that people are buying is just things they want to keep forever and ever and ever, or else it's just, it goes against the point of of vintage fashion, sustainable fashion. So awesome to see. I wish I was there. I wish I was in Sacramento, but I will go to the ones in Chicago. Chicago for the win. I think there's other ones happening. I actually put at the end of this Canva deck things that were happening in February. Oh, it's already March. Probably should delete this. I didn't go to any of them. But Chicago Vintage Festival has a lot of things in Chicago, and I always forget to go to them. Bad habits. Shall delete that slide. But yeah, there's always happening here. Always things here to do. And talking about more aware consumers, basically, this article explains how Gen Z are fueling the maximalistic fashion revolution. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, this is by News 18, and it explains that Gen Z is redefining fashion with bold maximalism, blending self-expression, sustainability, and cultural influences to create a movement that's as vibrant as it is meaningful. So fashion has always been a reflection of its time, but Gen Z isn't just mirroring culture, they're reshaping it. Unlike past decades where designers and runway shows dictated trends, today's young consumers are setting the agenda. They're fearlessly blending streetwear with couture, vintage with contemporary, and fluidity with tradition to create styles that defy convention. And they say that their style apparently is bold, vibrant, and personal. I don't know if you guys believe that, if Gen Z are a bit more authentic in how they dress, but yeah, it seems like they are committed to sustainability, that they are willing to do eco-conscious choices. I certainly am. I wish this was a bit more obvious when we're like shopping. Like, I wish my friends were like, yeah, I'm trying to make an eco-conscious choice here. I mean, that's not like a cool and normal thing to do, but I do think it's a subliminal value, especially when they go vintage shopping, or like they go to flea markets, or go to like the vintage markets, stuff like that. I believe in the Gen Zs. I'm a Gen Z. I think I am. I think I'm like the oldest Gen Z that you can get. I was born in 1997, so I'm 28. That's not a very Gen Z age for me, but I feel like I'm still giving Gen Z energy. But I think I'm more of a millennial, to be honest. And I've also been noting on TikTok especially that a lot of sustainable influencers use a lot of colors and a lot of prints. It's basically like maximalism, and it is like excess things coming together, but it's still sustainable in some way. So I do think that there can be that element of like a lot of prints, a lot of things, but still care about the earth. Like, we don't have to just wear the beiges and the whites and the blacks and like have a capsule collection and wear things from specific brands. Like, sustainable fashion can be quite literally anything that makes you feel good and comfortable, but still sustainable in some way. And I know a lot of people still can't afford to buy from quote unquote sustainable fashion brands, but if you buy from like a fast fashion brand and you keep it for years, that still makes it sustainable. And who cares if it's giving a maximalistic approach or like aesthetic? I think as long as you love it and want to wear it for years and years and years, then like go for it. So I love this article. I think we often undermine youth as well for how intelligent and amazing they are, but they do suffer from ego anxiety. So I do think they want to care and will care as we move forward. And they're going to be the next leaders. They are entering this like young 20s era right now, and I do think they're gonna influence a lot of the industry and the creative direction of where we take things. So I'm hopeful. I really am hopeful for where things as a whole can move towards. It's just we don't have a lot of, I guess, power because we're still in the initial phase of our adult life. But I think within the next couple of years, things are going to pick up more. And then to move on, there actually was a protest against Prada by PETA activists who were basically saying, hey, let's ban wild animal skins in Prada. So Daily Records made this news article. There she is. That's the activist. Her name is Jennifer White. Is that her last name? Jennifer White. Apparently that is her last name. So this is a Scottish animal rights activist who was removed from Harrods Prada Cafe in London after staging a protest against the use of exotic animal skins in fashion. Interesting. So Jennifer White is 32 years old from Stockbridge and targeted the luxury retailer due to PETA's concerns over the ethical implications of sourcing wild animal skins. She is a graduate of Edinburgh Academy and Napier University, and she serves as a senior media and communications manager for the animal rights organization. So she works for PETA. Interesting. I was going to say she's about to lose her job. Like, why are they telling us where she works? In the image, Jennifer is seen wearing a fake snakeskin outfit while holding a sign that reads, "Ban wild animal skins." This is her. Oddly enough, they didn't show us the outfit. How dare you, Daily Record, or the photographer who messed up. But yeah, she explained that we protested at the Prada Cafe in Harrods to urge the brand to ban exotic skins and stop supporting the cruel and unsanitary wild animal trade, Jennifer explained. Harrods sells Prada bags made from the skin of tormented animals. She emphasizes that ethics and sustainability are increasingly important to modern consumers who are more aware of the environmental impact and cruelty within the exotic skin trade. So, that's her outfit. Very nice. It's very see-through. But it calls attention to the topic, basically. And the article further reveals that conservation experts have warned that conditions in which these animals are reared and slaughtered can pose public health risks, potentially triggering future epidemics. So, interesting. And then Prada must leave wild animals in peace and embrace innovative vegan fabrics that are both ethical and sustainable, Jennifer added. During my nearly 10 years at PETA, we've seen major victories in the fashion industry, proving the impact of our campaigns. I do wonder why Prada continues to use exotic skins, but I do think it's part of their appeal as a luxury brand to be exclusive and to, provide exclusivity in some sense, even if it comes at the cost of animal life. It's not justified, in my opinion, to use exotic animals, especially if they're endangered and if it's unethical, obviously, but Prada and luxury brands in general are just like the epitome of capitalism and classism all in one. So I don't really mind if they lose money, if they lose clientele because of the things that they do. Like, I prefer that they lose money than be in business, because oftentimes they are very unethical and exclusionary in the things that they do. And then the article continues to say that a growing list of designers, including Burberry, Chanel, I don't even know how to say these brands' names. Paco Rabanne. I don't know how to say these names. Vivienne Westwood have already banned reptile skins from their collections, and many brands now offer vegan leather alternatives made from materials like pineapples, mushrooms, apples, and cacti. Very interesting. And then basically Jennifer was not arrested during the protest, but security was called to escort her out of the cafe. And she also noted that when PETA has reached out to the Prada Group about their use of reptile skins, the company has maintained that they source only from truly traceable and certified exotic skin suppliers. Well, it doesn't make it right. I mean, there is no way to guarantee that they're doing this ethically and through like certified and traceable suppliers. If they did, I wish they put it on their website, but there's no way we can know. Like, we really can't tell if like they don't publish things online. Like, how are we gonna know? So yeah, but I do recommend PETA if you do want to learn about like vegan and ethical options. I relied on them heavily when I first started off my sustainable fashion journey. So yeah, they have a lot of guides, a lot of resources, a lot of things to look at to support cruelty-free fashion. Because even if these exotic skins do come from like certified suppliers, it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's ethical, and it doesn't inherently mean it's sustainable for the animal or for the planet in general. And I think we just don't need more bags. Like, we don't need luxury bags. We have enough clothing to clothe the next 6 generations, and I'm sure we have enough bags to clothe or to raise the next 6 generations as well. So it's such a shame though that they continue to do this. I think it's okay, but sell us more stuff. Hello? Hello? Okay, so my live stream glitched out for a second. I think it's still glitching out. But basically I do think that PETA should go for the ethical option and not use exotic animal skins, no matter if it's from a certified supplier or not. Like it would be the right thing to do to not use these exotic furs. I think the luxury fashion has this idea of like what makes things luxury, but like we don't have to make innocent animals suffer, and we can use like vegan alternatives. And I really do love talking about sustainable leaders and sustainable options, and one of those is this Massachusetts small business owner who is basically turning plants into fashion. I'm a very solution-based person. I love local leaders. I love putting the focal point on those that are doing the right thing and wanting to make things more sustainable and ethical, even if it just seems so hard to do in the big picture. But I do want to talk about her. She was featured on CBS Boston recently, so let's take a look at her business.
Liberty.
And no, I'm not gonna look at this ad. Why is there ads? Oh my gosh, I want the sustainable fashion leader.
Welcome back. As we honor Women's History Month, we're highlighting one woman-founded business that's making jewelry in this week's Small Business Shoutout.
The owner was born in Brazil and has quite literally built her business in Newton from the ground up. I stopped by Carla Shaw to see how she's turning plants into fashion.
It's amazing, one of my best sellers.
Leaves, herbs, flowers, corn husks. It's hard to believe that that's what this jewelry and these accessories are made of.
Every single plant is harvested in the wild or private farms by hand. No machinery.
Carla has made it her mission to create sustainable jewelry through Carla Shaw Fashion, bringing nature from her native country of Brazil to her new home here in Massachusetts.
Harvesting until I get them 50 days.
Some of the pieces of nature are only harvested once a year.
We respect the cycle of each plant to respect the ecosystem.
The sustainable harvesting practices promoted by the United Nations to have a minimal impact on the environment.
Now they cannot even change the way they do it because UN declared that they shouldn't change.
Rosemary, coffee beans, fern leaf, and cypress, just some of the things that are picked and then preserved in precious metals.
These are the bracelets that I said that are made with they're not leather because it's a vegan line, so these are vegetable suede.
She started her brand in 2021, and for the past couple of years, she's shared a workspace with 2 other women-owned brands until now.
It's very difficult to find words to express what I feel. I feel so excited.
Now nestled in Newton, she says her clients are passionate about the planet and have become nature collectors of sorts.
A couple of clients have been asking me, how can you sell at this price such a beautiful piece? I tell them, multiply the price by 6. That's the value. That's what I should be charging, so to speak, for the lack of a better word. But because I work with my artisans in reais, I repass this advantage to my clients.
Each piece is different, with the plants unique shapes and sizes and special in their own way, just like the shoppers who pick them.
My clientele is growing, more people become collectors, and it's more accessible, and that is a layer of sustainability.
Making glamour sustainable, one piece of jewelry at a time.
I would like to send a shout out to all women, every single woman out there, for us to celebrate all the history that we've made. And we have to keep in mind that when one of us wins, all of us win.
And that's really what Women's History Month is all about. Each purchase comes with all the information about the piece that you actually chose. She just had her grand opening last night. You can find her on social media at Carla Shaw Fashion. This month, she's offering a 10% discount for Women's History Month. For those of you who shop in store, which I couldn't help myself.
Yes.
I did. I got these earrings. So most of the jewelry is about $100, depends on what you get. But I am obsessed with earrings, and I found these to be so lightweight, which makes sense.
You made me
feel it, because it doesn't feel like it literally feels like you were outside picking up a leaf and
dipping it. Yep.
So nice because you can wear it all day. But now that her store's officially open too, she plans to host events, and she wants to give 10% back to local charities depending on each event. So if you're interested, you can of course visit her for that too. But
that's super cool. $100 is a bit pricey for me, but yeah, that's super awesome. I don't remember what the name is of the brand. What is it called? But Carla Shaw. Let's look at her website. Massachusetts sustainable fashion jewelry, botanical jewelry, plant leaf and flower jewelry. Preserved in 18 karat gold and silver. Oh, so nice. $88 for some earrings over here. I wonder how it works. They didn't really explain the process, but she does market herself as a sustainable fashion brand and provides one-of-a-kind botanical jewelry made with real leaves and flowers. And they're all meticulously handcrafted using authentic real plants preserved in 18 karat gold. And she uses artisans to work, basically, for her. This is how it works. I'm just kind of curious how this works. Oh, they paint it. Oh, it's so cool. Wow. It must take a while to do this. I like those, the big ones. Carla Shaw Sustainable Fashion. I actually really love this. This is amazing. They just like basically layer a small part of it with gold. Imagine if you like drop the gold liquid. You are so screwed. I love the earrings. Oh, these are so pretty. I wonder how they do these. Oh, lemon, cypress. They must be very fragile, but they're so cute. I love these. Oh, so nice. They have an Instagram. I'm going to follow them on Instagram. I'm not going to buy from them because I don't need more earrings, but it's such a cool idea, and they're really beautiful pieces. So, oh, she has a store. Oh, this is amazing. If I'm ever in Massachusetts, I will definitely visit. She looks so wholesome. And I love what she said, like if you support one woman, you support many others. So I love her ethos. I love her vibe. And I like her marketing. It's very wholesome and like for the modern woman with some contemporary features here and there. Oh my God, look at this bracelet. That's so cool. It's excessive, like it's big, but it's a bold statement. I like it. I would wear this for a fancy party. Nice. It does kind of give like Christmas vibes, not gonna lie, but the leaves are just big. I like these. These are cool. I was not expecting that music. Okay. I'm gonna move on for the sake of time, but love that brand. Definitely support her if you can. And then another thing I want to talk about is that COACHTOPIA recently had this circular fashion event at the Carousel at Bloomingdale's. And this article from the Women Wear Daily explained that Coach has a sustainability-focused sub-brand called COACHTOPIA that launched its first North American wholesale experience with a playful pop-up at the 59th Street flagship and online. I have heard of COACHTOPIA. I'm not really sure if it's like the sustainable future of fashion or if it's the solution, but a lot of like sustainable fashion influencers have been supporting this. I think they do have a lot of marketing money to play with, and it's been getting the support of the sustainable fashion influencer groups. I personally have not really settled on my opinion on it, but I don't really think it's going to create long-term solutions if it doesn't address systemic issues in the fashion industry. I do think that we need to tackle the heart of the issue versus creating more consumption for the masses or more products for people to buy, basically. But I do want to see their videos. It's just, I do think it's a bit of like social washing of like, hey guys, we care. But maybe it's just another marketing scheme, another way to get money from more eco-conscious, sustainable consumers. Who knows? But I'm kind of wary with them because I'm like, do they just want my money? Do they actually really care? But let's do a bit of investigating. They did do a TED Talk from what I see here, so we can listen to that and see what their ethos is.
In fashion, we normally create products without thinking about the waste we generate. In fact, when we first started looking for our waste, it was actually hard to get the full picture. We measure what we make, not what we leave behind. But these waste streams are vast and deep. For example, this is the waste left behind from the making of products such as our quilted tabby shoulder bag. As you can see, the scraps left over from the cutting of the bag patterns are not easily usable. They're small, scrappy, irregular. Typically across the industry, these scraps are sent to landfill, almost without a thought. But they're up to 30% of each leather skin. At first, the scale of the problem seemed daunting. But we soon realized that the scale was actually the opportunity. That in fact, we could create a whole new supply chain built on waste.
I mean, there is a very profit-driven aspect to it. They recognize the waste, and then they're like, there's a whole supply chain here based on the waste that we're making. It's a very interesting way to frame it. Like, we saw a problem, we saw the waste, and we can essentially make a new business out of it. I just wonder what happened to the rest of the TED Talk because it was only a minute long. But they do explain the behind the scenes of their bag, so we should definitely take a look at this. But I'm still not entirely convinced that we need more bags in circulation and that we need to buy more bags if it's from like these sort of brands. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and see what they're actually doing if it's from discarded materials that they have no longer use for.
Right now, you can get...
No, we don't want ads. I don't want ads. No. No, no, no. Okay.
The Coach Quilted Tabby and its counterpart, the COACHTOPIA Alter Ego Shoulder Bag. Here, in their natural habitat, they come to life together.
What was that? In their natural habitat? Are they animals? What is this narrative?
Our master craftsman selects the perfect leather, chosen for its fine grain and supple texture. Nature's finest, ready for transformation. With precision and care, the quilted tabby takes shape, stitch by stitch. But as the leather is cut, some scraps are left behind. The alter ego slouchy form is crafted from these very scraps, saving them from going to waste. At COACHTOPIA, each stitch is a step towards a more sustainable future. 2 distinct bags, crafted from the same exquisite leather. Timeless Coach craftsmanship, reimagined for a circular world.
Roar, roar, roar. His voice is very roar. It's giving animal roar. We're gonna save their lives, roar. Alter ego bag. I'm not still fully convinced. I just wonder if Coach was aware of their waste before COACHTOPIA's efforts. They must have been wasting a lot of leather and a lot of materials before they came up with COACHTOPIA. I mean, it's very strategic of them to use discarded materials and make it new and have like grandmasters turn it into like beautiful new items. But again, like, do we need more stuff? No, but it is made from discarded materials. And I think that's why sustainable influencers and fashion, lovers that care about the earth are supporting these efforts. It's just, do we need another bag? That's the question. Do we need more things? I don't think so. But let's see what else they've done. They've been in the COP29. Let's see. Not the sentimental music.
As a leader in the luxury fashion industry, Coach is committed to crafting exceptional products while also forging positive change within the industry, which champions sustainability. Senior Vice President of Global Marketing and Sustainability and Head of COACHTOPIA, June Silverstein, joins us in Baku as we explore how Coach is leveraging practices and tailoring its initiatives to align with the United Nations Sustainable
Blink twice if you need help, lady.
Development Goals.
I feel like I'm watching a movie with this music. Guys, get to the point.
Hi, June. It's great to meet you.
Uh-oh, not the corporate conversation.
As we all know, Coach is a household name in fashion. But can you tell us about what sets it apart in terms of sustainability?
Thank you, Hava.
Nope, I can't do this. I'm sorry. This is just corporate washing. Let's see what their brands are like. Did they have the same commercial up 6 times? What is this? Whoa, she can fly. I don't get the commercials.
It's you, but you're me?
Why are they flying? Why I'm so confused with their branding. It kind of makes me feel like they want us to think that we're like superheroes because only superheroes can move like that. We're superheroes if we buy consciously and we buy the upcycled bag, basically. I'm confused with the commercials, but basically COACHTOPIA is now in the United States, and I feel like we have to be a bit apprehensive, basically, about this initiative, and also apprehensive of the real pursuit of these efforts. I just feel like Coach took an opportunity after they saw all the waste that they produced, and were like, let's make some money, and let's target Gen Z millennials, because if you look at the commercials, it's very young people in these commercials, and the way that they like have us flipping around and like walking on cars, it's a very exaggerated version of like their ideals on us of like, oh my god, you're going to be the savior, you're going to be flying on the moon because you're doing the right thing. Maybe that's the creative direction that they're taking, but they did put this sort of the same commercial about like 8 times. So I think they're still trying to figure out their branding and their narrative, but they do have a lot of marketing money because they're attached to Coach. So I don't think we're going to get rid of them that easily, but they're definitely here in North America, especially if they're doing pop-up shops. But I'm still wary of them nonetheless. I probably wouldn't want to buy this because I can just buy Coach bags secondhand, but it's a good effort if you want to support a more circular way of consuming their bags. So yes, but no, thank you. To move on, there also is something called the Vogue Vintage Market that will be launched in New York City on March 29th, which is in 4 days, I think, 3 days, 4 days. And it's going to be hosted by Gigi Hadid, and it's going to basically support the LA wildfire relief. So I saw this article by Condé Nast, I don't know, but it's also going to be in London as well, and it seems to be affiliated with eBay as well. They give thanks to eBay on the marketing, But basically, British Vogue and Vogue US are teaming up with eBay for the Vogue Vintage Sale and Market, a chance to shop editor-curated vintage and pre-loved fashion in person and online for a good cause. So in London, the British Vogue Vintage Sale will support SmartWorks, which helps unemployed women get back to work. And within the New York one, the Vogue Vintage Market will be hosted by Gigi Hadid, which will benefit the Entertainment Community Fund, which is aiding those affected by the LA wildfires. I think this is a really great initiative because of the cause it's supporting. I don't really know what they're selling. They didn't specify that anywhere. Maybe there's like more articles and like YouTube videos about it, but I think it's such a great idea. I'm sure that the things are going to be super expensive just because it's like luxury fashion. But maybe there's more affordable pieces because it's aided by eBay, and eBay has an array of items. Again, it doesn't specify within that article, so maybe there's a YouTube video about it, but I think it's a new initiative nonetheless that can be a really exciting way to put your money to support really important issues and still find like important fashion items. But I'm not seeing anything on YouTube. I don't see this as a thing that's happened in the past. I'm excited that more celebrities are helping endorse and push forward sustainable fashion. Before talking about this, I had talked about how Bella Hadid is super into archival fashion, whether that's her personal preference or a stylist is dressing her in archival fashion. Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid are inherently doing a lot for sustainable fashion right now. They're pushing the needle in their own way. So I think the Hadid sisters are our celebrity susty queens, whether we like it or not. And they're using their power for a good cause, which I really respect. But I do want to know more about what this entails, like what it'll look like, what they'll sell, how it's structured, who they're uplifting, what brands they're using, and how much of the money will be donated. Oh wait, right here it says 100% of proceeds will benefit those impacted by the Los Angeles wildfires. So it seems like Vogue is not keeping any of the money, so it's a plus. I do wonder though, like if they subcontracted like people to host this on behalf of them, or how they're running the show basically. Like I always wonder about the logistics of how things are happening, because it really shows like the intention, the detail, the nuance of their intentions. But Vogue also has an article here about it. Maybe, yeah, this will give more details. It was released on my birthday, March 6th. Can a robot voice read this? My voice is leaving me. I've been talking a lot. Sorry if you don't like robot voice, but my voice is leaving me, guys, and I love me some robot voice when I can't talk anymore.
Mark your calendars and ready your credit cards. On March 29th in New York City, Vogue and Gigi Hadid will host a one-day-only shopping extravaganza, the Vogue Vintage Market. Imagine the ultimate fashion stoop sale, packed with hundreds of editorial-worthy vintage and archival pieces donated by Vogue friends and contributors, as well as items sourced from eBay. The event is open to the public with RSVP and donation in the Vogue app, and 100% of proceeds will support those impacted by the recent Los Angeles fires. To fill the market with vintage treasure, we called upon some of the industry's best-dressed: Anna Kwai, Emma Chamberlain, Hamish Bowles, Julia Sarjamois, Kaya Gerber, Paloma Elsesser, Tabitha Simmons, Ton Goodman, and Gigi Hadid, to sleuth through eBay and curate their must-haves.
See? That's what I'm talking about. I'm like, how does this work? That's so interesting. So editorial-worthy vintage and archival pieces donated by Vogue friends and contributors, and items sourced from eBay. And you can sign up with the Vogue app. I wonder how much people are willing to spend that day. If I go, I'm like gonna spend the only $100 I have in my bank account. This is definitely for people that have money to spend on vintage and archival pieces.
Plus, we spun the Vogue Rolodex and asked cover girls, street style stars, and top design houses, Louis Vuitton, Kite, Coach, Tory Burch, to donate pieces from their very own wardrobes and collections. This is your chance to get your hands on style history, from graphic tees straight from Cindy Crawford's closet, talk about provenance, to the Prada dress that inspired Lauren Santo Domingo to launch runway trunk shows on Moda Operandi, to a self-portrait dress immortalized in one of Anna Weyant's paintings. Plus, You'll find pieces from the closets of Martha Stewart, Carly Kloss, Alex Consani, Vittoria Zaretti, and many more.
I am sure people that are going to go are going to spend more than $1,000. These are like exclusive items. I wish I was an elite fashion girl with like that was a Nepo baby. But in my case, I can't even afford a New York plane ticket. If I could, I'd be there. But I can't even buy myself a sandwich. So I'd love to learn, but I'm yearning and jealousy.
If you can't make it to New York to shop the sale located at Soho's Roll and Hill showroom, you can still partake. An online Vogue vintage market curation, teaming with hand-picked gems unearthed on eBay, will also be launched on Vogue.com. And if you happen to be in London, British Vogue is hosting its very own sale. Shop the Vogue Vintage Market to own a piece of fashion history while making a meaningful impact. Because the only thing more timeless than vintage is a piece with a story worth telling.
Interesting. So there's going to be an online version as well. And if you're in London, go to the London one. They make it sound so easy. But interesting. It's going to be basically a one-day sale filled with donated items basically, and there's going to be an online version. And yeah, if you want to go, it's March 29th from 11 to 5, New York, New York. Gosh, I wish I was rich, but I'm not. RSVP on the Vogue app. Okay, I can't look at it because I'm on the website. But very interesting to see. I think it's another innovative solution. I have honestly been seeing this trend. There's more vintage markets popping up, and I'm excited to where it will go. But for like the average working class consumer, I think this is very much out of their scope to afford and attend if they're struggling to survive and buy groceries. But for those that have the privilege and the money and the ability, this is such a great way to start supporting, you know, sustainable pieces that will be unique and have a story and you'll love for years and years and years. And it's so much more accessible than ever before. And the money goes to a good cause. It's like a plus and a plus and a plus and a plus and a plus. Like, it's just positive all around. And to have all these celebrity endorsement and all these people like helping the process, and eBay continuing to show support for solutions from so many different organizations is honestly so great to see, and it's really exciting. eBay, if you want to sponsor this live stream, now imagine if I ever get sponsored by a company, it'd probably be eBay. But that's probably not going to happen until like 2 or 3 years from now, because I've barely been live streaming for 2 months. But can you imagine? I don't know anyone else that's live streaming about sustainable fashion, about the issues in the industry in general, or creating the content I'm doing through my own narrative of being like a working class Latina. But that's just something to note. But I do have a lot more to work towards in, I guess, my content creation journey. But I love eBay for their support and their willingness to uplift solutions nonetheless for those that want to do better and to create solutions and stuff. So, but yeah, moving on, I'm gonna talk about Kalina Strada. She is a sustainable fashion designer basically who has actually partnered with Tomtex, which is an organization that basically specializes in vegan alternatives. And basically this article by Retail Brew talks about how she created some accessories with Tomtex, and it's interesting how there's a lot more partnerships happening, and how sustainability is coming about from that. But basically within the New York Fashion Week, there was designers across the board just increasingly incorporating recyclable and dead stock fabrics in their collection. And this year, the theme continued as Kalina Strada, among other major brands, served up the collection championing sustainability, which has a commitment to sustainability as their commitment to sustainability is a core part of the company, basically. And yeah, I want to see more of the accessories they made, but basically they created a next-gen material. That's how they describe it, but they're not really describing the accessory. So basically explain that the alternatives they want are biodegradable, and they want something that we're not even going to see. What? They explain that that's going to be something we're not even going to see. We're not going to recognize the transition. It's just like one day all of our puffers are going to be filled with more sustainable and animal-friendly alternatives. Huh? I think they're talking about how they want to make the change and not really explicitly talk about it. I'm kind of confused what they're talking about here. Sometimes articles just go on and on and on, and I'm like, guys, get to the point. I can't be reading articles all day. But I think what they're talking about is they want change to happen, and maybe it'll happen overnight. And they're not going to be super explicit about it. What else? We need some more pictures in this article. Guys, give me some pictures. What are you guys talking about? So Colina Estrada hopes to continue its partnership with Tomtex and to incorporate more sustainable fabrics in its future collections. And then they have their sights set on something much bigger. Interesting. The article finishes by saying, just as innovative materials in the past have redefined entire industries, we see Tomtex as part of a larger shift towards materials that don't compromise on ethics, performance, and design, she said. Our goal is to continue working with designers who see materials as a space for radical reinvention, not just substitution. Very conceptual, but the only thing they really showed is this bag. So I think this is a vegan accessory brand that's like more sustainable compared to other brands in the past that they've done, and like an example of what they want to continue to make. Also, my foot's asleep. Sorry if I'm like crouching down and like trying to rush through this article. It's just my foot's asleep and it's like tingling. And I want to look at the photos because I'm kind of like looking at all this text. I'm just a girl. I'm just a Gen Z girl, guys. Remember, I'm just a Gen Z girl. I wonder if there's like more articles or photos from their collaboration. I always try to go to Google. Let me use COACHTOPIA. What is Tomtex? Tomtex. It almost sounds like Tic Tacs. Tic Tacs, Tomtex. Oh, my foot's asleep. Okay, Vogue business for the win. Oh wait, there's a YouTube video on it. No, go back. Don't go back. Let's watch the YouTube video, please. Oh, nice. Perfect. Oh la la. Oh, I love her hair, her green hair. My foot's asleep. Was she holding an iguana? Oh my gosh, she was. Oh, I love that dress. I love the branding. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Well, that's good to know. I feel like there is a lot of improvements to be made. I know that one of the partnerships that Colina Estrada did was to create these like transparent looking boots that we saw over here. These boots are like transparent, but they're like $250, and they said they weren't that practical nor a real solution to the problems in the fashion industry, but maybe a path forward to alternatives. But I don't think a lot of the things that she's made in the past are very that practical, but sustainable fashion aesthetics doesn't have to be practical all the times. And if you're gonna wear like transparent boots and like this dress, and like go for it, if you're gonna like keep it for years and love it and it's like your aesthetic. But honestly, for the average consumer, this isn't something they wear every day. Maybe it's something for a date or for like a party or for like a special night out or something, but not for every day. So I do think we need more practical like sustainable fashion designs and like elements within like normie designers, so that more people can jump on and like buy it, and that it's not so exclusionary or like special to use basically. But that's just my appeal. I'm a very like practical person sometimes, but you can still love this and use this all the time if you wish and desire. But the price points are really high, and I wish more articles and the designers themselves talked about it. But if they are in luxury fashion weeks, then like their prices are obviously going to be high. But for like the average consumer, like $250 or $300 for like a vegan luxury bag is just really out of the scope. It makes sustainable fashion just like seem too classist or like too out of the scope for us to even think about or care about. But I mean, this bag is equally as ethical as something that you see at a local thrift store. So like if you can afford the $5 bag at the local thrift store, you're equally as ethical as buying, I think, this bag. It's just you don't have money for this bag. But dare I say, I think this option, this accessory bag from Kalina, is less sustainable because it actually basically used more resources versus the bag that's in a thrift store that was already in circulation for years and years and years and years and years, basically. I feel like a lot of sustainable brands also don't talk about that you need to still use resources. No matter how sustainably sourced it was, like you still need to use these resources. And often they're coming from like, quote unquote, a new place, a new source. But I mean, some brands are like using dead stock. I prefer dead stock over anything else. Like if you give me an option of like dead stock material versus, let's say, an innovative like plant leather, I'm going to use the dead stock because it's already in existence and needs to be used, and it's there. Like we don't need to grow more stuff to make new materials. Like for me, it's unnecessary. But people want to be innovative, and I can't control that. But it's just, for me, it's unnecessary and not sustainable in the long run to grow and make new stuff that we don't really need. But that's just my perspective, my personal bias. But talking about like the things that are already in existence, I saw this article by Aura Makeup, and basically it talks about how wish cycling is real. I'm starting to stutter because I'm getting tired, so sorry. But this post talks about the truth about cosmetic recycling, and it discusses how there's some things that people wish they could recycle, such as makeup, and they have a lot of like empty things like this. Like most of it's gone, and this is kind of there, but you can't really use it unless you're using like a special brush or whatever. But yeah, it's actually really sad, the things that we want to keep, but then it's like a finite material and we can't really find it because makeup brands are always like doing new products. I've definitely bought like old perfumes on eBay, but with makeup, that just is kind of nasty for me. Like I don't want to buy a 5-year-old makeup thing. It just kind of feels nasty. But the post says that many recycled beauty packages get downcycled into lower quality materials, and this eventually leads them back to the landfill anyway, which is kind of, sad. And there's limited or non-existent infrastructure to handle tiny mixed material items, and mascara wands especially are bound for the trash. Very sad to say and see. And then if there's like contaminated empties, they say, so like semi-used things, they end up in the trash because traces of leftover formulas in the packages often make items unrecyclable. And you can think of like dried mascara in a tube or the last bit of lipstick as an example. And then the post suggests some like solutions. So you can look at brands using mono material packaging, and then you can support truly recyclable or refillable beauty packaging options. I've not seen a lot of beauty brands do like refillable beauty packaging, but it's an idea. It's innovation that we really do need. And then make sure your empties are clean before recycling. I was not aware of this until I saw this post, and I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was actually recycling my stuff, but it's not true. Sadly, it's not true. And they have this concept of like voting with your wallet and with your empties. So you can support brands that prioritize sustainable packaging to help reduce waste and set a new standard, which I respect in theory, but I think that's also something that brands need to work on and implement. I'm unaware of what's cruelty-free. I'm unaware of what's clean beauty. I don't know which ones like actually provide sustainable packaging. So if brands want to like state that explicitly and like help me out and still be an affordable option, then I'm like so down to support that. But like for now, I am really confused what to do, especially when like if I try to recycle it, they're probably going to throw it away and it's never going to be recycled, given there's no or little infrastructure to make that happen. So no wonder it's called wish cycling. It's a wish to be able to recycle. But I'm optimistic that the makeup industry can be part of the change, and you know, provide more sustainable solutions. It's just the brands kind of have to do the heavy lifting because we consumers don't have frameworks or the infrastructure to really do much as a consumer. So hopefully brands step up, and if not, then maybe some laws can implement some accountability and like frameworks. I'm not aware of clean beauty laws or like beauty laws in general, but I can definitely look into it and see if there's been any initiatives or any infrastructures for beauty recycling, beauty item recycling, to be specific. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm probably gonna hop off of stream. I've been stuttering a bit, and my brain has like a bit too many tabs open. But I'm probably gonna jump off in like 20 minutes. But there is a lot of amazing news and like interesting news to talk about, and one of those has been this like sense that we've had clothing have curves in it in the fashion shows and fashion weeks, but the models don't. And sadly, I'm not surprised to see this, but Mary Claire made a post explicitly stating this thing, that basically there's very little like plus size models and shows. But as you can see, like the clothing create those curves, and it's unfair. It's very unfair because I think the more curvy you are, the more beautiful and real you are. Not to take anything away from skinny people, not to take away from those that don't have any curves. It's just like, I think women, when they're naturally themselves, they're very beautiful. But basically, Mary Claire Mag says in her caption, like, curvy-ish. What is that word? Curva-she-ish? What is that word? Wait, my face is in the way. Wait, can I move myself? OBS. Oh, yes, I can move myself. See? Woo. Maybe I put myself down here. Okay, so basically it says curvaceous designs were a dominating force in the fall 2025 runways. The casting, however, told a different story. According to a news report, only 0.3% of the total looks shown across the major fashion month markets were plus size, and that's even steeper decline than last season was 0.8%. And there's a juxtaposition that reminds fashion editors like me and casual runway fans how fashion truly perceives curves, the ones made of flesh and blood rather than artfully draped fabrics. I think basically they're saying like they prefer to see the curves in the fabric versus women's bodies. And I think it's just another way that we have basically demonized fashion and demonized women. And I think those go hand in hand. And I earlier read an article that most of the creative directors for these luxury brands are white men. So inherently white men are demonizing women through fashion. There's a reason why this is happening, and I feel like there's this like negative thing of like we have to look a certain way, we have to be real thin to be beautiful, and the only acceptable way to have a body is through the clothing that we're wearing. And I feel like that narrative is very dangerous, and it really affects our mental health and our the way that we see our body, basically. And this continues to say, like, while straight size models can change their shape at will, the women whose shapes inspire those curves can't participate or aren't welcome to when the only size are sample sizes. And then the post concludes, the mantra, take up space, may have defined this season's fashion, but it failed to extend beyond the clothing itself, which is, I think is very true and very valid, but also very concerning. And I'm really proud that Mary Claire is speaking up about this and putting that strong sentiment out, because I know that fashion magazines can perpetuate these very toxic ideas of like beauty and sentiments and narratives passed down from luxury brands to the general fashion industry and like field. So kudos for Mary Claire for being, I guess, a bit radical and pushing for more feminist ideologies of like women should be loved for who they are, to be represented for who they are, and they can't even like participate in this fashion because they're not made room for. There's no space for them in these rooms. So it's very sad to say, but I mean, white men have to learn to appreciate the beauty of women. White men need to think about the creative direction more seriously and encompass the normal everyday woman. But again, luxury often is very exclusionary, very classist, and centered on Eurocentric beauty ideals and ideologies based on colonialism. That's just what it is. So hopefully white men and the creative direction within luxury houses changes one day, but I'm sure that once we have more women within creative director roles in these luxury brands, we can start seeing more of a shift in beauty ideals. But then again, like, white women also are very oppressive against women as well. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're a feminist or believe in different beauties and diversity within beauty. So I'm optimistic, but at the same time also very cautious of like where fashion is always heading. But I do think we need more women leaders to bring more representation and solutions forward throughout the entire fashion industry. But for now, this is the case, and it seems like it's just less representation of curvy women basically in luxury fashion. But yeah, nonetheless we're gonna have curves on our bodies because most women have curves, so the fashion industry can't really control us that much. I mean, our bodies are our bodies. So yeah, that's something that I saw. But one of the last things I want to talk about is the Sabrina Carpenter. Cannot say that last name. I hate English sometimes. Carpenter. Oh my God, that last name is horrible. Carpenter. I can't do it. Carpenter. Say it with me, guys. Carpenter. She basically was featured on a Time magazine feature. Oh my God, my voice, it's leaving me. Yeah, I definitely have to leave in a couple of minutes. But she was featured, and she actually wore archival fashion that was originally worn by Naomi Campbell. So this is the original look, and then this is the dress that she wore. I don't know if you can see it, but there you go. Archival fashion for the win. It was originally worn in 1997. And I've seen how Sabrina references past like glamour and past like fashion icons. So I think she just has browsed through the old magazines. She's been on the internet looking at all the fashion shows just like me. So that's super cool. I love this look. So I do think that archival fashion and vintage fashion can definitely be pushed forward by the likes of like Sabrina, by her wearing these pieces. So that's super cool. That's really nice. And she looks beautiful. She looks like she's having fun. She's so beautiful. So nice. I'm happy about that. And if you ever want to like be surrounded by more like fashion news and fashion happenings, I follow dreamoutfits.s. It's this account on Instagram. It's your daily dose of fashion. And they have all the interesting things like this. That's Barbie. Isn't it cool? But yeah, basically I get a lot of like inspirational things here. A lot of like comparisons of things people are wearing. Keeps me updated. A lot of celebrity culture and looks. So I like to see that just to get my fashion inspo going and know what's happening in the industry. Not a lot of it's sustainability oriented, but it does let me know like what's just generally happening. But to move on, oh my God, my voice, it's getting deeper. No. But one of the interesting things that I saw is that some Dutch designers actually created a free sustainable fashion store that is open for everyone. So we can definitely take a look at that video.
Store in Utrecht. We give all the items in this store for free because there are enough clothes in the world to dress the next 6 generations. We get all the free fashion from everyone. Everyone has items in their closet they don't wear anymore. We started this a few months ago in our street, and now we are here on the biggest stations in the Netherlands. Everyone sees free fashion and thinks, what is this? They have a lot of questions, and that's enough space for us to talk about our waste and our overconsumption.
And the receipt, because the receipt is 0. Yeah.
and enjoy.
Thank you.
We have a lot of pollution and waste with only our clothes. On average in the Netherlands, we throw 15 kilos per person away each year.
I found this for in the winter time, and in summertime I have this. It's so important that we don't buy so much clothes anymore.
There are so many clothes in the world. Look in your own closet, share it with your niece, with your neighbor, with your friends, with your mother, with your father, with everyone. Welcome to our free fashion store in Utrecht.
We need more free fashion stores, and I think it's possible. There's like enough clothing to clothe the next 6 generations. I like when as soon as I start talking to people leave the live stream. Okay, I sound terrible. I'm probably gonna hop off. I totally get it. But I think there is enough fashion in existence to have free fashion stores across the nation and across any place that we're in, no matter what country we're in. I think this is possible. It's just having the initiative or even just like the funding to compensate people for their time to do this. Like, it's essentially volunteer work to host a free fashion store if it's not sponsored or supported by an external site or place. So, I mean, I would love for this to happen every single place, but yeah, it does take a bit of effort, but it's totally doable. It's just you have to source the clothing and then have like a location and then market it, and then hopefully people come and support it, you know, and in moderation, because I've seen like free clothing swaps happen and people like take, and it's like, guys, other people want some too. So, but it's such a great concept. And then Marissa says, hi Marissa. Marissa says, I want to do this so badly at my local park. Yeah, that would be such a great thing to do in the summer when it's a bit warmer. And then she says, thank you for sharing this. Yeah, I'm just really excited to like showcase these initiatives, because sometimes we're like, oh, no one's doing anything, or there's just a bunch of solutions that seem so out of scope. But like, this is a localized thing that we can all try to do. It's just gonna take some like courage and like hard work and like some grit to pull it together. But it's a very good solution, and it's very smart to do this, and it educates more people about the issues in the industry, and it makes it more practical and hopeful to be like, yeah, like this is a path forward. Like, we can give free fashion. It doesn't have to be something we have to pay for, especially if there's so much of it. But it like just takes enough some effort to do. But yeah, really great solution. People can bond. People can bring stuff they don't want and then get some things that they love. So win-win-win solution. Okay, so to move forward, I want to end with, let's see. Oh, I'm based in Chicago, and I recently saw that they're going to close a long-standing vintage shop, which I'm really sad about. So basically, a Belmont Army Vintage is going to go out of business because they're making a new apartment, basically, which is sad. It was a resale store, and they sold clothing and military surplus, and now they're going to be gone. They have a 50% sale, and they're losing the building to a development scheduled to break ground this year. If you don't think fashion is not connected to like social justice or housing justice or social issues, like, you're so wrong, because like everything is interconnected. And this is just an example of like housing injustice. Basically, like, we don't need outside developers buying up more buildings to make more unaffordable apartments for outsiders coming into Chicago. Like, we're literally losing local businesses because these developers just want to buy stuff up and price apartments for way too much. Like, I used to be a tenant union organizer, and this is just a classic example of like developers pushing out the locals basically. So it's such a shame, and it's such a loss as well. Like, can you imagine having a business for 50 years and then you're pushed out because the developer buys the building and they're like, yeah, see you later, we don't need you. But they served Chicago for 50 years. That's good. They loved every moment of it. Oh, they're so wholesome. And then they end off with saying, with new construction taking our building, we had to make the difficult decision to end our time here. Oh, look at one of the comments. Great. More $1 million apartments. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's really sad to say and see and think about. That's why I say like fashion justice is like housing justice, it's eco justice, it's all interconnected. And fashion is inherently political because it's connected to everything. So yes, that's the reality of the fashion industry, whether we like it or not. But yeah, going on to more interesting things. So I think I have basically met my frustration with luxury fashion because they're kind of like obsessed with like other industries, like the hospitality industry. I feel like they're trying to branch out and like get into different aspects of the world. Like, what is Prada doing with their Prada butter? Like, I just don't get why they're in the hospitality industry, but they're just more immersed in cafes and restaurants and different places all over the world. Like Louis Vuitton has their restaurants, Miu Miu has lollipops and books, or I mean popsicles, I mean, and then logo plates. Those French fries look good though. And then there's Prada with their like cafes, Ralph with their coffee. There's no need. I get the luxury hype. Do you want to feel rich and like want to be in elite spaces? But like this is another level of unnecessary. No, Saint and Laurent lattes and coffee. I don't think we need this. Do we need this? I don't think so. It's kind of making my head hurt. Oh my god. Even if I had the money to go here, I probably wouldn't. It just seems so unnecessary. Oh my god. But I guess they're just trying to make more money and to make luxury fashion a bit more accessible somehow. I can only imagine the prices though. It's going to be way more expensive than a normal cafe or a normal restaurant. But yeah, that's just something that I've seen emerge. There's another Instagram post that were showing more examples. If I can get the post. No, that's the same one. Where is it? Okay, so it's this one. Oh, so they have like butter, like the whole butter sticks. There's more example, guys. There's food branded with their logos. There's luxury ice cream. There's bread with their name branded on it. There's bananas with the bag. What is happening? There's cereal placements for products. There's lobsters with the shoes. So yeah, I think they're just trying to reach more people through weird ads in the industry targeting. So very weird for sure. I think it's just a construct of capitalism right here. This is capitalism, baby. Oh my god, I disapprove very heavily. This is so unnecessary and it's such a shame that they're doing this, but in the name of profit, I feel like they're going to always turn towards the solution, to expand into different industries and be like, let's hope that someone cares about what we're doing and buy our things. That's, I think, really it. It's profit driven. It's really profit driven. It doesn't make any sense, but here we are. This is where we're at. Oh my gosh. And to end off, there was an interesting interplay of the conceptualization of magazines through this collaboration. So basically this is like a reconceptualized Vogue magazine basically, and it says American rich, and it talks about death to celebrity culture, and supposedly it's like the fascist edition. Now this is like a fake magazine, okay? This is not real. It was a collaboration between like 5 radical organizations that I follow, and it's just a play at luxury fashion. It's a play to celebrity culture, to, you know, worshiping people for their money, for consumerism, for this ideas of like materiality and consumption. It's just, again, like, we often look for celebrities for guidance of what to wear, who to be. We buy stuff that we don't really need because it's branded, but like, do we need it? I don't know. I don't think so, but I like this. I like this project a lot. Celebrities can be part of the solution. Like Gigi Hadid is, you know, hosting a Vogue vintage market to support the LA wildfires, but a lot of these celebrities are releasing a lot of carbon emissions. They can use their money for good. They can promote ethics. They can promote sustainability. But often enough, they're partnering with brands that just push for overconsumption and materiality and like propaganda of consumerism, basically. So, yeah, I think we need to just follow more people that care about social issues and sustainability and ethics. But I don't think celebrities are like the real villain in what's happening in the fashion industry or in fast fashion specifically. I think they're part of the problem, but not inherently the ones causing the problem, if that makes sense. I think the CEOs are the problem. And for example, Kim Kardashian is a good example. Like, she's a celebrity and she's the CEO of Skims. So she is directly perpetuating fast fashion, and she partners with major brands to perpetuate more consumption. So I think she's, in a way, a core villain in this like whole arena of problems. It's just we idolize these people so much for some reason. I just don't get it. But I don't think they inherently want to be evil or bad. It's just, in the pursuit of money, you can definitely turn towards the wrong direction in life. So, but yeah, I really do wish this magazine could be released in real life. Like, can you imagine if Vogue actually creates a fascist edition and talks about overconsumption and like the death of celebrity culture? Like, that would be so beautiful. And how Kim Kardashian is producing unnecessary, you know, skim collections, and how they're pushing a propaganda, and how they're creating carbon emissions, and how we need to stop bowing down to these like mythologized, how do you say mythologized? Like this mythic image of people when they're just people, you know? I would love to see this in a real magazine. I'm not going to say it or else I'm going to get banned by YouTube. I'm going to start glitching out like I always do when I talk about serious stuff. I can't say the F word. I can't say the IMPERIALIS M word. I can't say those words. Yeah, but I really do wish this was a real magazine. That's basically what I'm saying. But yeah, that was a very interesting thing. If you want to follow the work, it's mainly by praxis_archive. You can't see because I'm right there. Let me lower myself down so you can see who made it. So Praxis Archives made it in collaboration with Imperfect Activists, Abnormalized.being, Cocktails and Capitalism, and Decolonize Myself. Those are the ones that made this quote-unquote magazine. So if you want to follow and support them, that'd be cool, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna end off the live stream with a fashion show. That's kind of like my tradition. Probably gonna do a Vivienne Westwood collection. I love Vivienne Westwood. Probably like a 1995 or something collection. You know what? Let's do a 1997 one. I was born in 1997. Let's see. Oh my god, it's 29 minutes? Yeah, let's just watch it. No ads. But yeah, this is the end of the live stream. Just gonna watch this fashion show with y'all. I'm gonna head on out. Thank you so much for watching. 6 people are watching. Guys, I'm leaving. My voice is gone. But I always jump on at 4 p.m. Central Time. But yeah, enjoy this archival vintage fashion show, and I'll see you Friday.
you say it's alright to be scared? 'Cause you know me better than myself. Take my advice, don't ever look back, and just the words that I say. It's alright, I don't care. 'Cause you won't look back and you won't look back. Talking to myself all night. You're the one I'm thinking of. Struggling to feel alright. Is this just the way it goes? I've learned to let go. We spent so much time on our own. I finally let go of everything I can't control. You told me everything's dark. It's the only thing I can see, and the weather don't lie. I'm all alone, I look the other way. I miss the time that we had, with or without you stay. Wake up, don't wanna feel bad. I'm talking about this love. I've learned to let go. We spent so much time on our own. I finally let go of everything I can't control. One night
Oh my god, the music is so emo. I love that.
US Bank, we know how good it feels to reach your milestones. But we also know what really goes into getting you there. That's why we introduced Co-Browse, which connects you to a real banker in real time.
Fame is a funny thing.
Bye. 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 Take care, guys. I'll see you this Friday. I'll see you guys. Take care. Thank you for the amazing live stream. Bye, bye, bye.